Well, we are once again in Cape Girardeau County, Missouri, and there is so much to see here. It's taking us multiple episodes, so make sure you hang around. We have a lot left to learn, and we're learning a lot, so I mean that's a big deal. So we do have a lot left to learn, and I hope that you stay with us as we continue through Cape Girardeau County, Missouri. All right, we're in downtown Cape Girardeau, Missouri, outside the City Hall. And we're here for this monument. This is for Iver Square. And it says here in 1911, Cape Girardeau members of the Missouri chapter of Women's Relief Corps, an auxiliary to the Grand Army of the Republic, commissioned a memorial to the fallen soldiers of the city and county. Dedicated on May 30th, 1911, the memorial fountain and statue was presented to the city by Sally McGammon. The sentinel atop the fountain stood for 92 years until a fallen branch shattered the statue in 2003. Sculptor Alan Gibson created an exact replica, which was installed on June 13th, 2003. Try to center this up a little better for you. Okay, in 1931, the Cape Girardeau chapter of the United Daughters of the Confederacy erected a memorial to the region's Confederate dead. Plans were initiated in 1910 by Mary Hunter Gibney Houck, wife of Lewis Houck, and finally realized by the chapter 21 years later under the leadership of Maud M. Hope. Originally located at the foot of the old Mississippi River traffic bridge, the monument was moved to its current location in 1995 when the old bridge was slated for demolition. This monument recognizes the dedication and sacrifice of Southeast Missourians who fought to help establish a Confederate slaveholding republic. This monument must now also remind us that their loss actually meant liberty, justice, and freedom for thousands of their fellow Missourians. In 2019, the United States Colored Troops statue was installed near the location of the old market house where the human beings were routinely bought and sold prior to the Civil War. This statue honors the courage and sacrifice of the more than 240 enslaved African Americans who enlisted in the Union Army here at the Common Pleas Courthouse. Their willingness to fight for their own freedom and the freedom of their fellow Americans continues to inspire us today. And that's this monument that we see here. From slavery, Iver's and Square. Oh, from slavery to freedom, Iver's and Square. All right, I'm going to start over here with some of these pictures. The old market house, built in 1852, had been the gathering place for farmers and gardeners and housewives. Slaves were sold from the auction block to its north. Old Market House site is now occupied by an idea market. The Carnegie Public Library, 1922, is the source. From Judith Ann Crow, Missourian staff writer, September 7th, 1967. All right. So I'm just going to start up here, picture, and go down. From 1806, this park was set aside by city founders as a public square. A market house was built in 1852, the courthouse in 1854, and a jailhouse in 1856. In 1861, and throughout the Civil War, the courthouse was the headquarters for the Union Army, which occupied the city under martial law. The United States Union Army began to allow the enlistment of men of color in the Mississippi River Valley in 1863. These men were to serve as federal soldiers for 3 years in segregated regiments commanded by white officers. Enlistment of volunteers for colored troop regiments began in Cape Girardeau on June 8, 1863. Records indicate 249 men of color volunteered here at the courthouse headquarters to join the fight for freedom. To volunteer, each first risked escape from his master and the perils of a fugitive journey. They came from the surrounding counties of Perry, Scott, St. Genevieve, and outlying Cape Girardeau, but also from local farms and businesses. Those determined, fit for service, were steamboated from Cape Girardeau to serve in the 56th, 65th, 67th, 68th, or 18th United States Colored Troop, USCT, infantry regiments. The 56th was deployed to Helena, Arkansas, while other regiments went to Louisiana, Texas, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, and Alabama. With the perils of war before them, the soldiers left behind their enslaved or fugitive families with no guarantee of freedom. Slavery was not abolished in Missouri until January 1865. This park was designated Iver's Square in 2017 to honor James and Harriet Ivers, a family whose story represents the struggle of all the formerly enslaved volunteer soldiers. Enslaved from birth, James and Harriet were owned by different families. When they married in the custom of slaves in 1853, slavery's restrictions required they live apart. James's owner, John Ivers Jr., purchased Harriet and the couple's 3 children in 1858, uniting the family. They lived in this immediate neighborhood, unloading steamboats at the port, storing goods in the riverside warehouse, traversing these streets, living and working in the businesses of antebellum Cape Girardeau. On June 18, 1863, the first day men of color were allowed to volunteer in Cape Girardeau, James was among the first to volunteer. At enlistment, he presented himself as James Ivers, taking the surname of his owner, as did Harriet and their children in the freedom years to come. Private James Ivers served in Company H, 56 U.S. Colored Infantry. He died of consumption in the service of his country while stationed at Helena, Arkansas on October 1, 1863. Though illiterate, Harriet, with the help of many successfully proved her eligibility to receive a war widow's pension. In 1870, Harriet purchased property and raised her family in the home she owned at Middle and Jefferson Streets in the city. She saw to her children's education and earned a meager living as a washerwoman. Harriet was a contributing, tax-paying citizen of Cape Girardeau until her death in 1897. 8,344 men of color were enlisted from Missouri. In all, 178,978 black soldiers served in the United States Union Army and contributed their strength at a critical point in the war to result in the military victory of the Union and the restoration of the Republic of the United States, one nation. This marker says Courthouse and Park. In 1806, Louis Lorimer ceded this plot to the city for a civic center. The present building dates from 1854. It houses city offices and court of common pleas. The cellar was a Civil War prison. The park accommodates a Union Memorial bandstand and public library, and at one time a fire station and produce mart. It has fostered many activities throughout the years, from slave auctions to religious worship. Okay, we are down here on the side of the news building in downtown Cape Girardeau, Missouri, for these wonderful tile murals, the art of printing and gathering and disseminating news. They're beautiful. And there is some information here for us. It says, on the art of printing side, left to right, outline figures are Colonel Robert Sturdivant, George A. Nader, Alan H. Hinkey, and Lewis Houck. And on the gathering and disseminating news side are Fred W. Nader General Evangeline Booth, Billy Sunday, Madam Ernestine Schumann Heinck, John Philip Sousa, and Harry S. Truman. And you can zoom up for the details of what numbers each one are in the corresponding chart up there. The coming of the machine age had little effect on the production of faience tiles. After 8 centuries of producing faience, man has had little success in changing the methods of producing beautiful pieces of timeless durability. So when the publishers of the Southeast Missourian decided to portray the story of the art of printing and the making of a newspaper, they chose to tell the tales in tile. And they chose an outer wall of the building as the place to install these 2 large, beautifully colored tile murals in 1947. The art of printing pictures is beginning with Gutenberg, who made the first movable type and printing press when he printed the Bible in 1450. Then when printers began using type in the days of Washington hand press, later the rotary press with the modern typesetting machine, the figures of Colonel Robert Sturtevant, a pioneer who more than 100 years ago produced the first newspaper here, of Lewis Houck, builder of railroads through this district, historian and writer, of Allen W. Hinkey, one-time city editor and longtime contributor to the Missourian, are to be seen. Seated in the center, rearing back in his chair in a familiar pose, is George A. Nader, one of the publishers at work. The companion mural, under the title Gather and Disseminating News, presents a view of the editor's desk in the foreground with a background of busy news gatherers, human and mechanical. Here, one observes the men and women who garner the happenings of each day, putting them in succinct form to be set before thousands of eyes each evening. These are the human factors, and pictured also are the marvels of the machine age, the teletype, telephone, telegraph, radio, airplane, camera, and the rotary press. Before the editor's desk, a segment of the great and near great who at one time or another were brought to Cape Girardeau by the newspaper to give impetus to the never-ending program for the advancement of culture. Judge Harry S. Truman of Jackson County encouraged greater interest in highway and general beautification. Madam Ernestine Schumann Heinck was brought to entertain her boys of World War I. John Philip Sousa brought his band to stimulate more and better music in the public schools. Billy Sunday was brought in by the newspaper to arouse the churches of the district to broader programs. General Evangeline Booth came at the behest of the newspaper to formally christen the new A.C. Brace Arena building for public service. I'll give you one more look at these kind of from front on. And over here, all right, we are in downtown Cape Girardeau, Missouri at the Southeast Missourian building. There's a couple of markers here. This marker says the Southeast Missourian Building, built in 1924 to 25. Newspaper owners George and Fred Nader wrote of their inspiration to add in a large way beauty and dignity to one's town is to express affection for the community and confidence in its future. Listed on the National Register of Historic Places, Thomas P. Barnett, architect, Spanish style, commemorates town's Spanish land grant heritage. Black ceramic and Moravian tile, Carthage stone columns, white stucco, Mexican mission tile roof in 5 colors, refurbished in 2005 by the Rust family. And again on the Southeast Missourian building. Southeast Missourian building, Nader Brothers, erected 1924 to 1925, dedicated September 11th, 1925. The Spanish established the first government west of the Mississippi River on this site in 1793. It really is a beautiful building. All right, we are in downtown Cape Girardeau, Missouri, at what is now Katie O'Farrell's Public House. And it sounds awesome, by the way. But at one point, this building here was the Opera House from 1806 to 1868, site of the first hostelry in Cape Girardeau, built in 1806 by Captain William Ogle, one of the earliest west of the Mississippi River. In 1868, the Turner Society erected the present building as Turnverein, or a community center. Masonic Order owned the building from 1888 to 1891. Later became known as Opera House, and many famous personages appeared on its stage. We are progressing through our tour of downtown Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And at the other end of the what is currently Katie O'Farrell's public house is this marker, which is Royal New Orleans Turner Hall, as this building was once known. Was built in 1868 with contributions from members of the community, designed by Nicholas Donner, an architect, civil engineer, and contractor in 1888. The Masons purchased Turner Hall, and it became the Opera House and Masonic Lodge. In 1904, the Nader brothers started and published the first issue of the Daily Republican on these premises. In 1954, the Royal New Orleans was opened. We are in downtown Cape Girardeau, Missouri, in Cape Girardeau County. We are here for the Marquette Tower. I wanted to give you a good view of the building. Look at it, how beautiful that brick is. I'm sorry for the craziness there. All right, we are here for this marker right here. The Marquette Tower. In 1928, the former Marquette Hotel was completed around the time the first bridge opened linking Cape Girardeau to Illinois. The bridge boosted Cape Girardeau's economy and became a popular place for traveling businessmen and families to stop between St. Louis and Memphis. The Spanish colonial revival architecture, the ornate painted terracotta, and the custom-made encaustic cement tiles are just a few details that make the interior and exterior of this building remarkable. The hotel was originally built with 75 guest rooms, a kitchen, public and private dining rooms, a coffee shop, barber shop, drug store, and 2 retail spaces. In 1936, a carriage house for vehicles to park on the north end of the building, and 40 additional rooms were added. With all of its amenities, the hotel was the social center for the region until the 1960s. 1969, the addition of motels built along the newly opened Interstate 55 results in a reduction of visitors to downtown Cape Girardeau. The Marquette Hotel changed owners several times and was vacant and in need of substantial repairs. The hotel finally closed in 1981, and in 2000 the building was eventually condemned by the city. In 2016, as the epicenter of the Marquette Tech District, this historic building has been renovated by local developers and investors to preserve the integrity of the building's ornate exterior facade and the interior lobby, while integrating modern office spaces for technology-based innovative companies and organizations that support them. All right, we're in downtown Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and we're here for this marker for the H&H Building. The H&H Building was built in 1908 by J.H. Heimelberger and W.H. Harrison, 2 of Cape Girardeau's most prominent businessmen. It was the first steel-reinforced structure built in Cape Girardeau, and it has served as a commercial center for the business community. The building is recognized as a prominent cornerstone of the westward expansion of the Broadway business district. All exterior walls are of smooth red brick and accented with limestone elements. The south and east sides of the building that face Broadway and Fountain Streets are more ornamental, with projecting window openings and molded limestone sills, corners edged with limestone coins, and a main floor lined with storefronts, flanked by limestone pilasters and topped with a molded cornice. In 2018, the building was renovated by local developers and investors to restore and preserve the integrity of the building's exterior facade, interior lobby, architectural details, and corridors throughout the building while integrating modern fixtures, finishes, and technology. The building is located within the Marquette Tech District and is the home to a Courtyard Hotel by Marriott. All right, we're in downtown Cape Girardeau at a location here on Themis Street. And we're here for this marker. Right here. Telephone service. In 1877, the first long-distance telephone line in Missouri was completed December 18, 1877, between Cape Girardeau and Jackson. In 1896, here in a 10 by 12 second floor room, the city's first telephone exchange was established by A.R. Ponder, L.J. Albert, J.F. Brooks, and M.A. Dennison, doing business as the Cape Girardeau Telephone Company. All right, we are in downtown Cape Girardeau on the waterfront. And we are looking for a marker on the corner of this building up here on Themis Street. And here we are. This is the Filburn and Sloan Commission House, built in the mid-1800s. This is one of the oldest buildings still standing on what was once known as Warehouse Row, with easy access to the Mississippi River, steamboats, and the railroad. The businesses located here made major contributions to the economic and commercial growth of the community. Local lore has played a major role in this property, linking it to General Ulysses S. Grant, who we know was in Cape for quite some time. Okay, we are here for this marker on the side of this wonderful, interesting building. And this was the B'nai Israel Synagogue. This building was constructed in 1937 by the Hecht family, the Jewish community, and local support from business and individuals alike. This synagogue served all of southeast Missouri's Jewish citizens. With its Islamic influences, ceramic glazed tiles, and a dome rotunda, this building has served a vital role in Cape Girardeau's history. It is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. And that's just an amazing.
In 1699, Fathers Montigny, Davian, and Saint Cosme, French missionaries, erected a cross where this stream entered the Mississippi and prayed that this might be the beginning of Christianity among the Indians. The stream has ever since been known as Cape LaCroix Creek.
And that's another episode of Historical Markers in Cape Girardeau County, Missouri. Stay with us. We have more coming in this county.